Why? Because we created an environment that encouraged entrepreneurship and innovation. That's who we are. And we let our Judeo-Christian foundation guide us and stayed away from the evil, because this is not about Republicans and Democrats. This is about good and evil. And we have to use those brains. We have to use that weapon that God gave us to fight Marxism. Marxism counts on ignorance. Have you seen some of those man-on-the-street interviews where they ask people the simplest things and they have no idea what you're talking about? That means the Marxists have infiltrated our schools, have infiltrated our learning institutions, and have dumbed down the population. You have to dumb down the population in order for them to believe all that crap that they tell them. And that's what we have to fight. That's part of the battle that we're in right now. Now, it hasn't always been that way in our country. If you really want to be impressed about our educational prowess, go back and look at a 6th grade exit exam from 150 to 200 years ago. What you were expected to know to graduate from the 6th grade, you'll be blown away. We have dumbed it down so significantly these days. And what we have to do now is draw the courage to fight against the Marxists, because they count on intimidation. You see what they're doing out in California, trying to scare our Border Patrol people, trying to scare our ICE people. Our ICE people are incredibly brave, and we need to really support them. But they would intimidate all of us. They would have all of us standing in the corner afraid to say anything. And we must recognize that we have to be the bold ones. You know, fear is the thing that changes our lives. I remember as a youngster, I was afraid of dogs. I would never go out the door without first looking around and seeing if there was a dog there. And I'd be on my way to school, and I would almost be there, and then there'd be a dog. And I'd have to turn around, go all the way around the block, and come back from the other direction. And then there'd be another dog. And I'd be late for school, and the teachers were tired of my excuses. And then there was a man, I was 8 years old. He said, "Benny, if you don't act like you're afraid of the dog, they won't bother you." He said, no matter how big and ferocious they are, if you don't act like you're afraid of them, they won't bother you. I said, "Are you sure about this?" He said, "Absolutely." Well, there was a dog down the street named Rusty. Nobody liked to go down there. I said, "I'm going to go down there where Rusty is and act like I'm not afraid of him." And I went marching down there, all brave, and Rusty saw me, and he started licking his chops. And he came running after me, barking and snarling, and he ran right up to my leg. And I said, "This was a mistake." And he just sniffed it, and he went back and laid down on the porch. That was the last time Rusty ever came after me. He'd go after other people, but he knew I wasn't afraid of him. And he stopped bothering me. And that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to manifest that kind of bravery. That's one of the reasons that we started the American Cornerstone Institute. After the first Trump administration, my intention was to retire. I had failed retirement the first time and wound up in government. I said, I'm going to get it right this time. But after a few weeks of seeing the direction of the country, I realized I couldn't have any fun playing golf and cruising around the world while watching the country go down the tubes. So we formed the American Cornerstone Institute, focusing on those principles that made us into a great country. our faith, our sense of liberty, our sense of community, and our love of life from the womb to the tomb. What a difference it makes. And the courage is the thing that really guided me throughout my whole medical career. I remember I was a resident at Johns Hopkins, and that was before they turned radical. And I was on call that night. All the attendings were away. We were having a national neurosurgical meeting, except for one that was left behind to take care of emergencies. And a young man was brought in. He had been beaten with a baseball bat. He was unconscious, his brain was swelling, he was going to die. The only thing that could save him was a radical operation in which you took out part of the frontal lobe and part of the temporal lobe to create space in the skull. I had seen that operation before, had never done one, but it didn't matter. I was a resident. I couldn't take him to the operating room by myself anyway. So I called for the attending, couldn't reach him. The nurses called for the attending, couldn't reach him. The paging operators called for him, couldn't reach him. The young man was dying. I had to decide, what am I going to do? Am I going to risk my career and take him to the operating room and do an operation I'd never done by myself before and break all the rules? Or should I do the safe thing and just intubate him and put him in the ICU on high doses of steroid and let nature take its course? And what I did is something that really has guided my whole life, not just my medical career. I prayed and I asked God to give me the wisdom to know what to do. And at the end of that prayer, a peace came over me, and I realized exactly what I had to do. I had to take him to the operating room, and I went in there, and everything came back to me. It was clear as a bell. I performed the operation. It was successful, and today that young man is a counselor for young people. But I never got into any trouble. In fact, I was praised for being